All right, we certainly been a good open date. Good to give the staff and players a little bit of a break over the weekend with Saturday off. Able to get a little bit of prep last week, to get out in front of a very important week this week. But certainly just from mentally, I think really good for everybody. But players worked extremely hard last week. I think, you kind of at that midpoint, and I think this time of year in the second half of the year really challenges all the, the self-discipline of each individual, each part of the organization. And I think the key here is that we continue to stay focused on what we know winning football looks like. I think that's what the open date uncovered for us, is we understand where we're at, why we have the results that we have, and what we need to do to improve there. So, I think just an unwavering level of discipline and commitment to what we're trying to build here. And certainly starting today, we'll get a little bit ahead here. We'll actually execute a Tuesday practice today with the players, and certain level of intensity and urgency and focus is required. We've got a tremendous amount of respect for the University of Georgia and the football team that they have. Kirby's done a fantastic job going into year 7. They continue personnel, the identity, a lot of players that we're very familiar with. So, defending national champs and the #1 team in the country, right? So it presents a great opportunity, and certainly understanding the history and the tradition behind this game at the same time. So we look forward to it. What do we got?
How dirty did you get your hands on the defensive side of the ball during the bye week, and how much are you maybe getting more involved moving forward?
Yeah, no, I think with the way we're built and the way we're put together, the way we operate the entire year, I think I'm getting dirty over there all the time, if that makes sense. We're very intentional about how we put our team together, right? This is not like, hey, you guys handle the defense. We'll handle the offense. You handle the special teams. We're very much a team approach relative to playing complementary winning football. So, I think we understand what the issues are, and I think throughout the year we played really good at times, and then we played very inconsistent at times. So I think the key here, what are we looking for? We're looking for all the things that we can control. We're going to continue to focus on improvement. I don't want to make it more complicated than it is. It's technical. And certainly I don't think it's one specific thing. I think it's a combination of a lot of areas. And certainly, our guys are working hard. Nobody cares more than the players do, right? I know you guys got articles to write, and our fans have got things to talk about, around the house. But, there's no one that it's more important to than the people that work extremely hard and take tremendous pride in what they do. So, and that's exactly the approach that they've taken. So, we got a lot of football left here, and we're going to do our best to help the players improve and help the staff improve.
Is it shocking where it's at? I know we've hammered the defense a little bit, but is it shocking where it's at? It's historically got a chance to be historically bad here, given that there seems to be some talent. It's not like this is devoid of talent. There's some NFL guys on that side of the ball.
Yeah, no, I think statistically, there are a lot of areas where we need to, improve. I don't know what you want me to answer to that, but we're right in the middle of it. There's nobody that's ignoring the problem. I think we got a group of people that really care about doing their job better, and that's what they're going to try to do.
It's been a season of highs and lows, obviously. Where does this game, though, as a measuring stick for kind of where you guys are at right now?
I think every game that we played, to some degree, for me, I'm just speaking personally, in particular when you play other teams in our league, right? I think is a measuring stick, right? I mean, you don't, I don't completely comprehend until I'm out there on the field with them, if that makes sense, relative to where you're at and, what's going to be required personnel-wise, how you put your team together, whatever the case may be, what you need to do that game to position your team to have success. So I think each SEC game, for the most part, has been a little bit of, okay, hey, where we at, and certainly in your division and with a team that you're going to have to play every year. So far, each one of those games, I think, has provided us a lot of good information.
This one being, as you said, number one team, top ranked. I mean, this team's hauling in, 5 stars, 5, 6 a year.
Right.
The talent's immense. Do you kind of see the gap at that point? It's like, okay, this is where we got to get to.
Yeah, I mean, I think we all understand that, right? I mean, I think there's work to be done in a lot of different areas, when you're trying to put together a football team, but personnel's part of that, right? I think we all understand the value of acquiring really good players, right? So, and then having a culture and a development plan once they do arrive, right? There's lots of things that contribute to this game. So there's no question the evaluation and the recruitment process is pretty well documented. Not only Georgia, but a lot of teams, right, have done a really good job in those areas. So, and it pays off. We all understand that.
Their talent level compared to other teams you've seen? I mean, you haven't seen them yet personally, but as you said, you're pretty familiar with it.
It's no question the personnel is really good. There's all the things that we're all from the same tree, right? I mean, the height, length, the verified speed, the line of scrimmage, body types, the edge players, the matchup players. There's no question that they've got really good personnel.
The season, each week is like game prep. You get an off week, you have a chance to make adjustments. Did you see adjustments that you could make, and was this a successful week as far as getting adjustments made?
Yeah, I don't think there's any question. If anything, it's just, you're out of the, I wouldn't say we're out of the grind, but we're not on the task at hand. There's time for quality control. We've got a pretty extensive process that we go through relative to evaluating where we're at, areas that need to get better. And then you can evaluate each game and, okay, what contributed to each game? Why'd you win the games you won? Why'd you lose the games you lost? And essentially that's probably what gives me comfort is we know why we've lost games. I think we know what winning football looks like. And the games we lost, we didn't deserve to win.
What would you say are some of those common themes maybe in the losses or even the wins that you guys were able to identify throughout the last week?
I mean, it's the same things we talk about up here every week, right? I mean, I think turnover margin, explosive plays, minimizing negatives on offense, conversion downs, red zone touchdowns, covering kicks, creating game-changing plays in the return game. I mean, football's football, right? I mean, I watched a bunch of games this weekend. It's the same game, So, I mean, we know what winning football looks like, and when we've gotten beat this year, there's pretty evident. You guys write about it. You know why we got beat, so it's not complicated.
Number one team in the country again. As was before mentioned, a rivalry game. How much do you present this as opportunity, and do you think that can maybe spill over from a motivational standpoint?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think anybody that's walking the halls in this building, most everybody understands the things that come with this game. I grew up in the state of Georgia, grew up watching this game. Our players are well aware, right? We've got a good percentage, that have played in this game, and we got another percentage that grew up watching the game, right? So we all understand the history and tradition behind this game.
You had more opportunity this past week in terms of recruiting during the open date. Where do you think you guys kind of stand in the 23 class? I know you can't get specifics, but just kind of big picture.
I like the group that we've got committed. We need to finish. obviously secure the ones we have and then close on a few others, right? So we've worked extremely hard at it, not only the recruitment process but the evaluation process. So far so good. A lot of work left to do. Critical about approaching 7 weeks, 8 weeks, something like that. So I think a lot of that work has been done and will continue to be done. But it's part of our organization where we continue to get better. I think that we've got a lot of people that are getting more familiar with the product that we have here. We're getting more efficient with our time. We got a lot of new people. It's not just 23s, but it's 24s, it's 25s. I mean, you got extensive work around the clock every phase of the year, right? So all those people are taking a lot of pride in their role and certainly have been effective so far.
Billy, on that note, what are your thoughts on players reclassifying? Is there certain positions where that's easier, and what are those conversations like with kids that might be considering that?
Yeah. It's hard to believe that that's the case, but I think there's a handful of players out there that are capable. I stayed back in the 8th grade, so when I think about reclassifying, I think about reclassifying the other way, right? I weighed 92 pounds. I'm getting ready to go be a 9th grader. My dad said, "Hey, you're gonna have to stay back, big guy." So grew 6 inches and gained 50 pounds that year, and I wouldn't have played college football if I didn't do it. So we live in a world now where they're trying to go forward. I needed to go backwards.
You mentioned the game, growing up watching the game. Have you ever been to a game in Jacksonville, Florida, Georgia?
No.
So what are you looking forward to the most? I'm sure you've heard a lot about it, from guys on the staff and whatnot.
Yeah, no, I think we'll cross that bridge when we get there, But this is why you coach college football. This is why you come to the University of Florida, to play in this league, to play in these types of games. And certainly, this game's been around for a while, right? So I think for me, the week is about, I don't know, I'm quite prepared to answer that question because I'm focused on trying to get our team ready so that we can play with confidence in the game. So, but that's why you come here, these types of challenges.
Fine folks of Chatsworth, when I spoke with them, said this is the one game of the year they're not pulling for you.
Yeah.
So what is that dynamic like? Are you hearing from anyone back home? Do you hear what people are saying? I know your brother, one of your brothers at least, is in town.
No, I just think that's why college football is a great game, right? You got this cutthroat, and but no, I think that it's a fun game. Certainly, we got a lot of people that have passion for their teams, and we'll have our fair share in that stadium Saturday. I can promise you.
Billy, you've talked about how at Alabama you learn not just from Saban, but all the assistants that you work with. What was your time like with Kirby? How much did he rub off on you, being an offensive-minded coach, watching him work as a defensive coordinator, and then also how much did he rub off on you as a recruiter?
No, heck, I wouldn't have been at Alabama if it weren't for Kirby. Part of our dads were high school coaches in Georgia. There was some familiarity there, and certainly his influence on that with Coach Saban. He had a lot to do with me being there. I'm always be thankful for that. But Kirby's a heck of a football coach, man. I think you think about what he's done at Georgia. I'm going back and evaluating kind of each year. Year 7, what was year 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 for him like? He's done a fantastic job. I told him that the first time I saw him at the SEC coaches meeting. Had just won the national championship, and it's pretty well documented all that goes into that, right? And so he's done it. He's a competitor, and certainly a ton of respect.
Consider yourself 1-0 against him with the hire of Katie?
No, I think there's a lot of heck. We're fortunate to have all the people that we have in our organization. Certainly thankful for Katie.
This is kind of a full circle game for Anthony. Last year was his first career start against Georgia. How do you gauge his progress through 7 games?
No, I think he continues to grow. There's no doubt the comfort level with all the things that contribute to quarterback play, not only our system, but what the other side of the ball is doing, being able to speak that language, just a ton of growth relative to where he's at and the level he's processing at. So I think he, still working hard on mastering what that process looks like Sunday to Saturday. Again, an unwavering discipline and commitment to what's required to be prepared to play and win, right? So, that's where he's at. He's 7 games in, and it continues to get better.
Health standpoint, getting the week off, where are you now as far as getting your team back to full strength and getting over some of the bumps, bruises, and tiredness that comes with playing 7 straight weeks?
No, I think it was good. I think we will. I'm pretty confident we'll get a handful of players back that maybe didn't participate last week. Cybo in particular is going to be able to participate in practice today. A handful of others that continue to improve. So we'll benefit from it for sure.
Back to the bye week and defense a little bit. Do you have to caution yourself from wanting to try to do too much, make wholesale changes? I mean, there's only so much you can probably do with a few extra practices.
Yeah, no, I think it's a little bit more of identifying the problems, right? What are the communication errors? What are the fundamental errors? Conceptually, what's been good, what's not been good, and then you take a holistic, okay, hey, let's look at the big picture in some of these areas where we need to improve. What's the scouting report? Not that we don't do that each week, but you got more time to say, okay, hey, based off of what we know, what can we change or improve? Oftentimes playing defense is not about what you're doing, it's about how you do it, and yeah. And so, again, I can't say it enough, it's not one thing. It's a number of things that contribute. We've been through this before, right? We inherited a similar situation in the past. All you can do is focus on the things that contribute to playing better. That's exactly what we're going to do.
Have you been a coach who's made personnel changes during a bye week and seen positive effects from that?
Yeah, I think each week you're evaluating personnel based off of not only performance in the game, but also what we observe every day. I think there's more than just, that handful of plays that we see on Saturday. What is each individual like, from a self-discipline standpoint, how they're living their life, what's their approach in the weight room and the training room, every meeting, walkthrough, practice rep that they take. We've spent a lot of time with these guys. So I think that's always very fluid and rewarding what we see. There's a number of players that have benefited from doing it the right way.
One subplot of this week, and they put out a press release today about it, is will it eventually move? You know that whole story.
Right.
Kirby's concern is that he loses a recruiting weekend.
Right.
Is that a concern for you, just looking down the road? How do you lose much by playing a game in Jacksonville, recruiting-wise, you think?
I think, the big thing here is that, I think maybe for the first time this year, the home team gets tickets maybe. I think we've come to an agreement there. That there's precedent for that, right? Maybe this game is the one that provides precedent for neutral site, both teams to get tickets. Maybe that's the case. But there's no question that game day, and in particular these type of games, create recruiting opportunities, right? So this environment, this experience for a player can have a significant impact on a player's decision, right? So I completely understand what Kirby's saying. Every other year he's missing out on what he knows would be a fantastic venue and game day experience, right? So, it being right down the road, it's really for both teams to some degree. There's some advantages and disadvantages here. But I think we'll continue to put our heads together, not only the coaching staffs, but the administrations, But, you know, this been game, I think 1933, right? It's been played in Jacksonville. So it's a lot of history and tradition there.
Relationship with Lad McConkey?
No, heck, I know his whole family, you know. You know, his family, heck, I can remember his dad playing, fantastic player. His sister grew up in my neighborhood, right? So, I mean, heck, I know him really well.
This is right nearby, isn't
A
it?
couple blocks away, yeah.
Just time for a couple more, go to Matt and then Alan. Bill, you were talking about Kirby a minute ago and looking at what he's done just 1 through 7. When you look at the big picture of his career, what jumps out to you?
Oh, I mean, I think that there's no shortcuts, you know. I mean, I think that the same things I've said about where we're at, what we need to do. You know, I mean, it's not necessary. It's a good gives you good perspective about what's required. You know, and it doesn't happen overnight. You know, so I think the key here is it's one day at a time. Again, I go back to what I said earlier. Don't get discouraged by continuing to make good choices and decisions and create good habits and good systems in-house. Keep going about it the right way. Make sure you're sound in what you're doing. One day at a time, one person at a time. And ultimately, that's what we're doing.
Back to, I guess, 2011, can you kind of walk us through Kirby's impact, whether it was vouching for that analyst position or kind of how that went down?
Yeah, no, it was, heck, wouldn't be standing here today without it. You know, I mean, I think that number of people in the building that were on that staff, you know, Burton Burns, Chris Rump, yeah, I mean, we had a lot of people in the building that I had prior relationship with. I did not have a relationship with Coach Saban. So Kirby, obviously, we didn't know each other extensively, but because of our dads being coaches, you know, seeing each other on the road, whatever the case may be. I mean, heck, I was 29 or something like that, right? So, I mean, if that had been my first job in college football, I'd have been, you know, blessed and certainly benefited from it for sure.
Or coach against each other?
Yeah, no question. You know, different parts of this state, but I think that, you know, in that circle, you know, certainly with all the ton of connections here, right? So, I mean, too many to talk about.
They didn't play against each other. Last question.
No.
Okay.
Phil McConkey, but he's Benji McConkey. I knew it wasn't Phil, though.
Thank you, Coach.
All right, guys, thank y'all.
Yes, sir. How you doing? How you doing? How you doing today?
All right, guys, we're joined by Tariq Sapp. I hear if you want to start us off.
Sure.
Fumble.
He caused a fumble already.
Billy talked about the challenge, but also the opportunity. How do you guys view that as players going against number one team that's kind of, you know, owned this series a bit for several years?
Man, we view it as a great opportunity, a big opportunity, because we know it's a game that we're going to all have to come together as a team and all execute on all phases of the game. And we have to come together, especially as a defense, and we ready for the challenge. We know it's going to be real challenging. We know they're going to bring their lunchbox, and we are too. So we're just very looking forward to that. And we're going to work this week, work on everything we need to work on, dial up everything, make sure everything's crisp, everything's sound. Just looking forward to heading to Jacksonville on Saturday, out there executing, having fun, playing ball.
What gives you hope that you guys, I mean, you guys have had some high points. I mean, you played well at Tennessee, beat Utah, had some other moments. What do you guys kind of dig in on to say, hey, we can compete with these guys?
We just a few plays away. Just a few plays away. We know all this hard work we're putting in. It's not for nothing, but we just a few plays away. We just feel like we're so close, but we just feel like it's something there that we're missing. And it's a reason why we can't break that barrier. But I feel like we can figure it out this week. We're gonna work towards breaking that barrier this week on trying to find the recipe for us to have success in those big time games and those close moments. So we're just working on that, trying to see the analytics and do the best that we do, not just our defensive style coaches, but as players to see what's the problem and what we need to get fixed.
How frustrating is it to know that you are just a few plays away from being 7-0, and how encouraging is it to know that if you can make up for those mistakes, that you can be so much better?
Yes, sir. It's frustrating, but it gives you hope as well, because you also understand that it takes a lot of work to get those things done, and you understand that what we have come from, and we see that what we have done over the past this season, we see that there's hope in there. We see that we can put some. It's just another step that we can take just to break that barrier. And we understand that we can take that step if we just focus a little harder, work a little harder, and put a little more focus into it, put a little bit more emphasis on certain things.
Works together, but like, what would be the number one thing in your mind that you would like to fix on defense? Third down defense, run defense, sacks, I mean, they're all down.
Just third down and affecting the quarterback, really. Third down, affecting the quarterback, taking some of the heat off our DBs, because our DBs over the past this season, they have in coverage. Our linebackers as well have done an exceptional job. I feel like we can just up front as rushing four. I feel like we can affect the quarterback more. Just be more precise in our rushes and understanding who we're actually up against.
Offensive line then, but you will.
Oh, great, good offensive line. They got some good guys. They got some older guys, big guys, can move. Just what you would see in one of those top-notch SEC offensive lines, and they prepare, and we're going to prepare as well.
You've been a 22-point under, right? How many times have you been a 22-point underdog, and what does that do psychologically for a team?
It gets you up, it riles you up, because you feel like it's kind of disrespect, because we both not put in the same work, but we both put on our cleats the same. We understand that yes, this team is high combatants, but we got a chance to. We always had a fighter's punch. There's always a fighter's punch in these games, and just feel like we can take over this game and just be successful in all phases if we just all come together and execute. And we understand that also they are high combatants, but we are too.
Us through what the bye week looked like. Billy mentioned that you guys kind of went over some of the things that might have been contributing to the struggles.
A whole lot of corrections, just correcting some things, trying to get some things worked up. Not going overboard, but really just kind of getting after, especially early on in the week at practice, getting after it with each other, just kind of staying on edge, because it is a bye week. So you want to take advantage of those days where you can bang, and you want to take advantage of those days where you can lay off too, and kind of just get those mental reps.
To a regular week in terms of the physicality?
Maybe the first 3 days, maybe the first 2-3 days we got after it a little bit, but as the week died down, we slowed it down and we toned it down. It got more mental.
You guys bring more pressure on the quarterback some. What do you think has been holding you guys back consistency-wise in terms of?
I just feel like up front we could just be a little bit more effective with our hands, because we got some great guys rushing up front. Got some great guys. Just be more effective, because a lot of the times we get pressures where we're just about there. The thing is, like, it's a difference between sacks and pressures. Like, seconds, inches between. It's a difference between that sack and then a pressure. So you just want to try to get more of those sacks and try to just affect the QB more, try to rattle guys and get them off of their game and get them off of their throwing.
Stunning to you that the defense hasn't been a little more consistent, given the talent on that side of the ball?
I feel like we're a very, very talented defense. We just have to bring it all together, and we all understand that it's going to take work and it's going to take time, but at this point, it's a matter of time, and that time's coming up and time's ticking, so we just got to take advantage of it. We got to look at this moment. We got to seize it. We got to put our best foot forward as a defense, as a team.
What has Ventrell Miller meant to the defense?
Ventrell Miller, that's general. I call him general. Like, whole thing, I call him general. Like, he's our center ground. He's gonna make sure everybody's centered. He's gonna make sure everybody's ready to play. He's gonna make sure you're ready to go. And then he kind of like I call him. He has like the LeBron effect. He not only plays well himself, he affects everybody he plays well on the field. He's a very infectious guy. So I don't care who you are. You step on the field with Ventrell, you most likely gonna put your best foot forward, because you understand that you are on the field with a guy who got you covered, and you're gonna feel comfortable playing with him.
The inconsistency on defense, do you think is between the ears, and how much of it is physical, would you say?
I feel like it's probably about 80% in between the ears, about 20% physical. It's just us. We got to see things better. We got to understand situations, about situational awareness, understanding where we are on the field and how can we take advantage of the game on that part of the field. So just taking advantage of that, and then beating teams on third down. We getting teams on 3rd and long. We got to take advantage of those. Those are the downs that we have to live for. We have to live on 3rd down. We have to take advantage of that. I feel like if we take advantage of that more, we can have more production, and then it gives our offense a chance to score more points and put us in a better situation.
Playing in this game and just the stadium being split, kind of being part of that atmosphere?
My first rodeo, baby. Man, it's crazy, dog. I'm stoked. I'm ready to go. I know it's gonna be crazy, but I'm all for it. I'm all for everything. I like, this is the environment I live for. All through high school, I thought about this, and just big moments and big time games like this. I understand what it takes, and I've seen guys do it. So that's why I'm so ready. Like, 'cause I've seen guys do it. I know guys that have done it. So I just want to go out there and put my best foot forward and just really just seize that moment, live there, just be there. I want to be in Jacksonville that whole day. I'm there.
Right there a little bit, but playing the #1 team, defending national champion, I mean, it's very rare.
Yeah.
What does that mean to you?
It means a lot. It means a lot. It means that I feel like it means a lot because we understand that we can be potentially dangerous. Like, we're very dangerous, and we can go out there and actually compete, and not just compete, but actually it's going to actually be a football game. It's going to be a fight. So.
There's a natural rivalry in Florida, you know, all that. Did you grow up disliking any particular teams more than others?
Not really. Not really. I can say I was always like, about this game, I was always in the neutral zone because I know it was going to be one or the other, and whoever won that game would probably end up going to the playoffs. So that was the main thing.
You said you've been looking forward to this game since high school?
Yeah, since
Playing
high
it?
school. Just because I always understood. I got guys that I grew up with, that I went to high school with, that I played in this game, and it's always been an electric game. It's going to be a tough game, a hard-fought game, and guys are going to come out ready to fight. Like, it's going to be a fight.
How would you feel about this rivalry moving to like a home and home as a player?
It really doesn't matter to me because either way, the field gonna still be the same. Everything's gonna be the same. Field gonna still be 100 yards. So it really doesn't matter to me. But I understand the tradition of it being in Jacksonville as well, which I like that. So head up to Jacksonville, play ball, man.
You were committed for a few years
Yes,
before,
sir.
so you were really building this up for a while. It wasn't like you just committed last second.
Man, when I committed, I kind of committed blindly, honestly. Then I did my research on the back end, and then I looked into. I said, this school does produce guys up front, and they do have dominant defensive linemen that go to the league. So I just said, yeah, Florida Gator.
You haven't been to Jacksonville then? You haven't been to that stadium?
Nah.
So what are you looking forward to? What have you heard about the environment and the
I haven't
stands?
really heard much. I know it's crazy though. I know it's crazy, but that's what I'm all up for. I understand that environment. That environment has put me in a place, in a state of mind where I feel like I'm happy, a serenity, I'm home.
Would you have visited this game as a recruit if you could have?
Yes, for sure, most definitely.
Stetson Bennett, the guy you're going to be trying to tackle, what do you see in him? Because it seems to me like he doesn't make a lot of mistakes, and he's a pretty cerebral guy.
Yes, very sharp guy, very sharp quarterback. I can see that he has a very, very well understanding of the game, and he can be very, very dangerous for a defense, all because in between the ears he can slice you up. He's an opportunistic guy with his legs, but he is dangerous with his legs as well. Very opportunistic, has a great arm, can throw, can sit back there and throw, even though being a short guy. Even though being a shorter quarterback, he can sit back there and throw. So I know he can be dangerous, but we're going to find ways to affect him and get him off his game.
I ask you this a lot, but what have you maybe learned to this point in the season about trying to defend against a mobile quarterback like him, and how you can kind of impact the game and how he can?
You gotta keep him in the pocket. You gotta make him throw from the pocket. You can't let him out. You can't let him out of there. You gotta keep him contained, and you have to make him move as well. But you have to keep him contained in that pocket. You gotta keep him in that bubble, and you gotta make him really analyze the defense and try to slice him. You gotta make him work. You can't let everybody else do the work for him. You can't make it easy for him on the back end either. You gotta make the quarterback work. Pressure. You gotta pressure him. You gotta sack him. Put him in bad situations to get him off his game.
Okay, got time for one more? I guess stand up here.
Why do you think that's been an issue in terms of mobile quarterbacks, and what can you guys do to fix it, you think?
Just try to keep them more contained, because as we've seen, like with Tennessee's Hendon Hooker, he can sit back there he can tuck it and run it. He's he's not just a guy that can just tuck it and run. He's very, very effective with the ball in his hands, obviously in the open field. So just trying to contain those guys and get them on the ground quickly as possible. Don't let those QB runs or those scrambles out of pocket. Let those be explosive. We gotta contain them and not let them be explosive plays.
Thanks, man.
Well done. All right, now y'all too.
Hey, man, you better bring some energy, man, to follow up on that.
Right.
Get that Gatorade in the, like, get in the picture, don't you? Is that part of the deal? You gotta get it in the frame?
Nah.
What does it feel like to be the first Florida athlete to sign an NIL with Gatorade?
Honestly, to break it down, I don't even know how they even got connected with those guys. I wasn't worried about anything like that. They just told me we might have a deal, a small little deal with Gatorade. I'm like, Gatorade, like that's crazy. But they told me about it, and like I guess I made history being one of the first. I didn't even know that I was one of the first, but it definitely feels good because it opened up doors for every other athlete that goes here. So we're blessed.
Been drinking Gatorade your whole life?
Pretty much, yeah.
Not as a baby.
Oh, no, not as a baby, nah.
Obviously, everybody has the storyline. Last year was your first start against Georgia. The last 2 minutes of that first half didn't go so well. Where do you see yourself now in year 2 of you being a quarterback compared to where you were a year ago when y'all played this game?
I feel like I made huge leaps of improvement. There's still ways to go. But just thinking about it, I was actually talking about it the other day. Time does fly. Like, it seemed like yesterday it was my first start, against Georgia. I feel like we were doing pretty good until those last couple minutes of the game. But I feel like I made improvements, as a player, as a person. So I'm thankful that I even got the opportunity to start in that game. It was fun just being on that field, with my teammates. It was definitely a huge blessing. So I was thankful for that.
That defense had, I think, 4 or 5 first-round draft picks. I mean, how overwhelming was that, just the talent on the field and just dealing with that quality of a defense for your first start?
It was pretty crazy. Just thinking about it, that was one of the things because watching those guys all year, just seeing what they're doing, seeing how they're stopping offenses from scoring, I'm like, oh, those guys pretty good. Coach Kirby Smart, he's doing his thing. But it's all part of the game. You're gonna have some great players, you're gonna have some not so great players, but you just gotta go out there and play your game.
How'd you process that game emotionally? I mean, the big moment you had, and it just didn't go as you'd hoped, and then you got injured.
Before the game, I'm not gonna lie, I had a lot of jitters. I was in my head a lot. I was a little nervous. First career start against the #1 defense, so of course I was thinking a lot, and I felt like I was doing pretty good until those last few minutes of the game, first half. But just processing it and thinking about it, it's taught me a lot about football itself, and how to manage the game, and how to take control of the game. So it is what it is now.
That was the lesson.
Yeah.
Afterwards, that you took from it was what? Just managing your emotions better, managing the moment better?
Managing everything, the emotions, the moment, the game itself, just managing everything and just letting it come to you instead of trying to, just force everything.
How did you take advantage of the bye week, you think? And what did you do, and how did you improve, you think?
I was definitely watching a little bit more film, resting up, not getting banged up on the field, but, just using that week as more of a mental week, just getting ready for this game coming up.
How have you improved your mental game to make sure that, I mean, here in a similar environment, the jitters aren't there this time?
Just take what the game gives me, I've started a few games this year, so that's one huge, comparison I can make to that. And just letting the game come to me.
About the Georgia game during the offseason?
Last year I thought about it a lot, because I didn't really showcase what I wanted to showcase, and it kind of created a narrative that I wasn't ready, So I thought about it a little bit during the off season, but ever since then, everybody is gonna have a game like that every once in a while. So you just can't let it affect you.
About the jitters last year, how long did it take you to get rid of the jitters in the game, or did you ever get rid of the jitters during the game last year? Were they just there constantly?
I think they were flowing, up and down. I'll make a big play, they kind of drop, then I hear the crowd screaming again, it kind of rise back up. But I think that was just being part of the moment, and just being a little anxious and being young in that experience.
For example, playing in Neyland with 100 and something thousand people, how has that helped you prepare for a game like this? Because that was a game, obviously, with all the people screaming at you, that if you're going to be nervous, that was a game you were going to be.
I didn't necessarily think about it like that. That one prepared me for this one. But, like I said, just letting the game come to me, not really worrying about what everybody else is thinking, not really worrying about what everybody else is saying, because that game was a pretty wild game. And, now that I think about it, I feel like that one is setting us up for this one.
What do you need to do, and the Gators need to do this week to have a shot at upsetting this team?
Just stay focused, keep the main thing, that's doing your assignment, focusing on what you got to do, and just focusing on the win.
Do you see, playing, I asked Tariq, #1, defending national champs, that didn't come around all the time. How do you view that opportunity?
To think about it, it's pretty wild, Congrats to those guys for doing their thing last year, congrats to them for doing their thing this year, keeping that #1 spot. But if you get too caught up into that type of stuff, then it'll deter you from the main thing. Take your mind off of what you want to accomplish. So we're not really thinking about them being ranked, us being unranked, or what the history's been like before. We're just trying to be in a moment, like Sal said, and just be in Jacksonville and do what we have to do.
What would it mean to win this game, though, just from the season, how it turned things around?
It'll mean a lot, just to even win. Every win is a big win for us. This one is an SEC game, so SEC win would be great for us. And, just being in Jacksonville and winning that game would be a big win for us. So we're just looking forward to, playing ball.
Did you follow the Florida-Georgia rivalry growing up, or do you have any thoughts about what it means and stuff?
No, not necessarily. I didn't really follow it much until I got here. Just being there and just watching Kyle Trask do what he did when we played them, and then watching some of the greats like Brandon Spikes, the hit he had against them. Just seeing some of that stuff, it kind of puts me in that feeling.
Could the underdog thing be a motivation, though, in terms of, you guys are 22-point underdogs? Could that kind of permeate throughout the team, or you as a leader, could you use that at all, or no?
22 points. Well, I didn't even hear about that until now. We haven't really even been thinking about being the underdog because, we've pretty much been the underdog all season. A lot of people have been, counting us out, doubting us, but that just comes with the territory. Like, we know what we have to do to get back to the top spot. We're going to try to, do that. So we're not necessarily thinking about being an underdog.
Sorry, man. That number seemed to surprise you, is what I was about to say. You're like 22 points.
Yeah, it did. That's crazy.
How much lead time did you know you were going to be starting? Was it the whole week, or did McGee and Mullen tell you like Wednesday, Thursday? How much head start did you know that you were going to be starting?
If I remember correctly, it might have been a day or two before the game. They pulled Emery in the office and told us that they were going to go with me, and I had to be ready for it. So. That whole week we both were preparing to be the starter. We didn't know what was going to happen, but they finalized it like a day or two before the game.
Some guys still get jitters before games. Do you? Are you over that now at this point?
Earlier in the season, I did. I feel like that comes with everybody, you know, every game. You know, it's the moment. You know, it's a big moment. You always want to perform to the best of your ability. So I feel like everybody gets jitters, but you know, I try to limit those as much as possible, just stay out my own head.
Do you have a pregame routine, or do you do anything particular that to kind of zone in or anything like that? Or?
Not really. You know, I listen to music every once in a while. Um, Randy, I call him before every game. You know, we talk on the phone, we pray. But that's probably the main thing right there, just talking on the phone with Randy and just praying.
A lot of people talk about how this team has been so close to maybe getting to where they could be undefeated. You guys were in a lot of games, but some didn't go your way. How close is it that you guys know you can just make a few plays here and you guys can be where you want to be?
It's definitely close, like you said. That's just doing your assignment. You know, there's multiple times on the film where you can see there's one guy, you know, not doing what he's supposed to do. You know, including myself. You know, not looking at the signals correctly, missing motions and shifts and stuff, just stuff like that. But you know, just knowing that minor things like that could, you know, potentially change how the season is going. You know, it's definitely kind of crazy to think about, but you know, everything happens for a reason, so we can't just dwell on it like right now.
With the receivers go, you said you wanted to really work on getting on the same page, so not missing opportunities there.
I feel like the work with the receivers is going pretty well. You know, that's just chemistry. Yeah, it's just chemistry and, you know, just understanding what we both want. You know, those guys want the ball. I want to get them the ball. You know, so it's just understanding like the spots to be open on the field and understanding the coverages behind it.
You were asked about the talent on Georgia's defense last year and some of the guys that were drafted. What have you seen in terms of the changes on the defense, you know, talent filling in at certain spots, and if there are any differences between, you know, now and a year ago?
You know, not much has changed for them. You know, of course they had older guys there, so that's probably the biggest thing right there. Just the age difference, but not much has changed. You know, Georgia, they're great at recruiting. You know, they know how to get guys and put them in the right spot. You know, so their coach trusts them to be in the right spot. And so, just looking at the film, there's not much of a difference. You know, they're a pretty good team, same team as last year.
Feel about this rivalry as a player? Would you want it to stay in Jacksonville? Would the thought of playing at Georgia excite you? Like, how do you feel about the future of it?
Honestly, that's a great question. I thought about that before the season. You know, it's pretty cool being in Jacksonville, seeing the stadium split half and half. But I feel like if it was to be put, you know, at the universities, at the schools, I feel like it might give one team an advantage over the other. So, you know, that's just something, you know, food for thought.
How much did you consider Georgia as a recruit? How much did Kirby recruit you?
I decommitted from here, and I picked up that offer like maybe 3 days later. I didn't necessarily consider Georgia as much. You know, I didn't see myself, you know, fit for their offense. So I didn't really consider them as much, but it was, you know, definitely a thought. You know, just getting any offer, you're like, whoa, like maybe I should go there, maybe I should go there. But you know, just actually thinking about it and putting yourself in that, you know, situation, I didn't really see myself fit for the offense.
Too much of a Gator?
Yeah. One more Gator. Who pays better, Gatorade or Gator Guard?
I don't even know.
You're on both payrolls.
Hey, I don't know.
Appreciate it, Anthony.
Thank y'all.